So you've done your research and you decided that you are the right type of person to have a chameleon. Congratulations! Now here are your 6 action items after you decide to buy a chameleon, but before you actually do it. First, look for an exotic vet with reptile experience. You may actually be surprised at how hard it is to find a vet with chameleon experience. It's hard enough to find a vet with reptile experience, much less chameleon experience. And so it is worthwhile to start your search before you have need of that vet. You don't want to be doing this search when your chameleon is in need of medical care. The first place you can look is within the chameleon community. Get plugged into some social media group, and there will be chameleon enthusiasts there that can let you know what vets they have found. We are very proud of the vets that are good with chameleons, and we make it a point to share those names as much as we can. Alternatively, you can use the Find a Vet feature on the arav.org website. This is the Association of Reptile and Amphibian Veterinarians, and they maintain a list of vets across the nation. Once you have a name, call that vet's office and verify that that doctor is still working at that office. And I suggest that once you do get your chameleon, you make an appointment to get to know the staff and let the staff get a health baseline on your chameleon. Your second action item is to plan for chameleon food. During your research, you definitely found out that chameleons love insects. And so, some way or another, you have come to terms with yourself being an insect keeper, at least temporarily. If you're like the rest of us, there's a good chance that you will eventually embrace your position as an insect keeper, and you may actually start considering them pets yourself. I personally have had a colony of green banana roaches for years, and I feed them off to my chameleons about 1 roach a year. I think I have to call them pets at this point. But establish where you're going to be getting your food. Is it going to be at the pet store? Is it going to be a mail service? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you have a plan and you know where you're going to be able to find food, considering wherever you are geographically. Your third step is to find a good breeder. The internet has both made this very convenient as well as has muddied the waters. You will find that there are many options, but your job starts in figuring out which ones are reputable. You'll want to look for one that has a digital footprint, and this means that you can find their posts on social media and you can find a history of their involvement with the community. This is going to give you an idea what kind of husbandry they work with and what their reputation is in the community. It is wonderful if their social media outreach allows you to see what kind of facility they work with, but not showing a facility isn't necessarily a bad sign. Once you've determined that this breeder has been in business for a while and has a good reputation, then simply call them up and see if your personalities mesh. One of the substantial benefits of going with a breeder is that you have a support for every step of the way. They want you to be successful, and they'll be there during the setup period as well as the introduction period of your baby to its new home. So call them up, see if they pick up, and when you do you like the way that they handle themselves? Next, get your cage set up ahead of time. You don't want to be missing an important piece of equipment when your baby comes home, so make sure you order your cage and your lighting systems and misting systems as soon as possible and get those set up and running before your baby comes to its new home. Purchasing a baby with a 2 or 3 month wait before it's ready to go to its new home is actually a great plan because that gives you the time to set up the cage. And with that in mind, I'd like to share with you a message from James Cross. James has been involved with chameleons for many decades and started back before we had a whole lot of information. He's been kind enough to come and share some of his experiences and one of the main lessons he's learned that he'd like to share with anybody who's interested in getting involved with chameleons.
For me, I think one of the most important things you can do when it comes to chameleon keeping is have your habitat ready before you ever bring your chameleon home. How I learned to get into chameleons was back in the late 80s and 90s. My wife and I would run around the San Fernando Valley on the weekends to all the different pet stores and try to find chameleons. When we did, we always purchased them. We'd bring them home and turn them loose in a sun porch that we had plants and vines and such draped all over the place. We would put up water drippers and feed cups, pinch the legs off the crickets, and put them inside the plants. The problem was we didn't have much information. In fact, these were the only two books we had that helped us understand what was going on in the chameleon world. They never lasted long. We even tried treating for parasites. In general, we would have them last 6 or 7 months. They would expire and we would buy more. After a few years of that, feeling quite guilty, we started doing more and more research, and of course the internet came out. That's when things completely changed for me. Now I build custom enclosures no matter what the cost, and I only keep a few animals. That way I can focus my time and attention on them.
There's a lot of experience in the community, and we have learned a lot of lessons. And I know I speak for those of us who have been around for those decades that we would rather you not go through the same learning experiences we did. Your fifth action item is to consider joining a chameleon community. Social media has provided opportunities to get together with people from around the world. No matter what social media platform you enjoy, there is bound to be at least one group that is about chameleons. Now, be warned that there's a lot of opinions out there, and joining 5 different groups may cause more confusion than it does clarity. Every group may have its own way of doing things. So do yourself a favor and research the people leading the group. You want a group that has deep experience and is constantly learning. And I fully understand at this point it may be hard to tell exactly what information's the best, but that's okay. You pick one, you stick with what they say until you understand the situation enough that you're ready to make your own decisions. Of course, if you're plugged into the Chameleon Academy outreach, you have a direct line to the latest in chameleon husbandry. And if you don't have a favorite social media platform, you can always check chameleonforums.com for the chameleon world's longest-running digital community. The sixth and final action item is to be patient. And for this, I'm going to bring on another member of the community who has recently gotten involved with chameleons, but has been around long enough to have something that he wishes he would have known when he started, and he wants to pass it on to you. This is Eric Garcia.
Hello, my name is Eric. I'm a local San Francisco DJ, building inspector, and new chameleon keeper. I just got my little buddy in July, so it's very recent. Kind of want to talk about my journey to getting him. The way I got him is I heard of this lady trying to get rid of him because I guess she didn't like his colors, and she, I guess, wanted a different color chameleon. So I saw it. I thought he was awesome. I jumped on it because I hadn't done too much research. I didn't know there were so many great breeders out there all over the place. I didn't think I was going to get another chance. So I jumped on it. I was like, I'll pick him up tomorrow. So I ran to Petco, got the chameleon kit. As I finished building everything and opening up all the packaging, I saw videos and forum posts about how you're not supposed to get that. It was already too late. So the next morning before I picked him up, I ran to a reptile shop. I told them, give me all the good stuff, everything I need. And most of the stuff was good, except I got a 18 by 18 by 36 inch glass hybrid enclosure. I knew he was going to outgrow it, but once I put him in the 2 by 2 by 4 foot enclosure, he was happy. He doesn't mind if he ever comes out now. He's happy where he's at. And I think the biggest lesson I learned was don't rush it. Take your time. Do your research. I, at this point, didn't have that many sources. I maybe had one with outdated information. If I had known that there were so many great breeders out there, I would have taken my time, would have had more time to do research, would have gotten the correct enclosure and lights and everything the first time, I wouldn't have had to buy 3 enclosures, 2 that are just sitting in storage now. And it would have saved my chameleon, myself, a lot of stress. That's the biggest takeaway. Take your time, do your research, and have everything set up and ready for when your little friend gets home. Just get right in there, get cozy, get familiar with this new place. It is the biggest lesson that I learned.
Eric, thank you very much. And what he says is absolutely true. There is time. Keeping a chameleon is meant to be enriching and a source of enjoyment. And the biggest thing that's going to ruin that is if you're not set up properly. A healthy chameleon is a joy to watch. A sick chameleon is heartbreaking. And so take the time to do the setup. Take the time to find the right breeder for you and do the research at your pace. There is so much out there. The Chameleon Academy has about 270 podcast episodes, over 150 website pages, over 200 videos. Admittedly, it can actually be overwhelming, but the fact is, you don't need to absorb all of it to get started with your chameleon. The information is there. Be patient, take your time going through it, and when you're ready, you'll know it. And don't worry as to when that happens, because beautiful baby chameleons are being produced all the time. Don't worry, there will be one available when you're ready. Now, before we leave this topic, I want to address the rumor that chameleons are fragile. The truth is that chameleons are like any other animal, including us. They're incredibly hardy when they're given the proper conditions. Early in our community, we didn't understand the proper conditions, and so these chameleons, yes, they did die young. But that wasn't because they were fragile, it's because we were giving them the wrong conditions. You know the right conditions now. That information is available to you. And with that in mind, Miguel Mendez wanted to share a message for those wanting to get into chameleons.
Hello everyone, my name is Miguel Mendez, and you can find me on Instagram under @TinyTreeDragonProject. So Bill asked me if there was anything that I wish I would have known before I got my first chameleon, and there definitely is. If you take the time to absorb the information out there, you'll have no problem keeping a chameleon alive, as long as you can adhere to their care parameters that they put out there. And the reason why I would have liked to have known this is because for the first year of keeping a chameleon, 4.5 years ago, for that first year, I worried nonstop. Every single morning I woke up and I expected to see my chameleon dead on the floor. And that's just because everywhere that I researched is like, don't get a chameleon. They're terrible pets. They're super fragile. Not for the first time reptile keeper. And there I was, the first time reptile keeper, and I was nervous, but I had everything that I needed to succeed. I had 5 different temperature probes in my cage to just make sure everything was perfect. And it was. But despite all of that, I still thought my chameleon was going to just drop from a branch and just die. And the thing is, keeping a chameleon alive and thriving and not just surviving is super easy. If you follow the parameters on chameleonacademy.com or just ask someone who's succeeding with the species on Instagram, there's no one formula. But if you just take the time to absorb it, you're going to have a great time. I just wake up every single day. I just look at them for like 5 minutes before I go to work, and my day is made. I love them so much, and I hope you do too. And if you do, and you don't have chameleons right now, do the research, and I promise you'll enjoy it, and you'll meet awesome people along the way, like I have.
Thank you, Miguel. And he's right. If you go with some of the more common species that we have right now, we have that husbandry mapped out pretty well. With the information that is now at your fingertips, there is no reason why you can't be 100% successful in having a wonderful experience with your mini tree dragon. And you know what? The community is here to help. And when it does come time for you to get your chameleon, I say welcome to the chameleon community and get ready for quite a ride.